Okay, this is a short video that introduces you to the ideas of logarithms. Two things I want these videos, this particular video to cover is the first thing, the relationship between logarithms and powers, and the other thing I want to do is introduce to you the law of logarithms. Just like with powers, there's certain rules that you are following with indices so that you can apply the same with logarithms. Okay, so let's deal with the first bit, which is looking at the relationship between logarithms and powers. And you'll find this is on the worksheet that's either attached to this email or you actually have in your hands. This is the key thing. Log to the base a of b equals x. Now that you could convert to a power of a to the x equals b. Now that doesn't mean a whole heap to me. I'd far prefer to try and explain this using some examples. So let's have a look. What we're saying, broadly what we're saying, is 2 to the power 3 gives you 8. So 2 cubed equals 8. So if we now apply this to a question of trying to find, well, what's log to the base 2 of 16? What we're saying is 2 to the power what gives 16? 2 to the power what gives 16? That would be, well, obviously it's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. It's 2 to the power 4. So log 2 of 16 is 4. Another example, this one's kind of thinking it in a slightly different way, is 2 to the power what gives a half. So let's just look here. 2 to the power what gives a half? Well, it's minus 1, because obviously it's a negative, does the negative reciprocal. So the answer of log base 2 for a half is minus 1. So you need to be comfortable with converting between logarithms and powers. Now in a further lesson I will actually formally show you the link between them, so hopefully that will make a difference. But I wanted to introduce you to this idea now so you could at least get some practice. And I think probably the best place to get practice, as well as looking at the multiple choice exercise which may be attached to the email, is to actually look at exercise 3b in the textbook. I think that gives a really good introduction. So that's what I'm going to suggest that you do now, is have a look at exercise 3b. Okay, so the second thing I wanted to look at was actually trying to look at or introduce you to the idea of the laws of logarithms. So just like with powers, say for example we had a to the x times by I think 8 said a squared times a cubed. You add the powers. 1 second. Sorry about that. Technology being itself again. So we were looking down here. If we have a squared times a cubed, you actually add the powers and you add up with a to the 5. So it's very similar rules to that. And actually the basis of these rules is very closely linked to indices. And that's something I would look to show you. So let's just get rid of that. We don't need that there at the moment. Okay, so these are the basic rules. If you have, and obviously if these are the same base, then you can do it. So log x plus log y equals log xy. So you multiply together. Here, log x minus log y is the same as log x over y. Again, a lot easier to look at examples here. What we're saying here is, here's an example down here. This is example 6 from page 43 in the textbook. Is log to the base 3 of 6 plus log to the base 3 of 7. Well, what we have here is, first of all, we have a plus, so we're following the first rule. And what we're doing is we end up multiplying those two together. So log to the 3 of 6 plus log to the 3 of 7 is log to the 3 of 6 times 7, which is 42. Following on from that, looking at rule 2, here we've got log to the base 2 of 15 minus log to the base 2 of 3. So here we're taking it away, so we're using the second rule. So log to the base 2 of 15 minus log to the 2 base of 3, log to the base 2 of 3 is log 15 over 3, which is log to the base 2 of 5. Equally, the third rule, this one's an easier spot, is what we're saying is that if we have anything which is, so here would be log x to the power n, you can bring the n down the front. Alternatively, you can, obviously going in reverse, you can take the n back up there to the power. So let's have a look at an example of that down here. We're looking at the fact it's, we've got a 2 here in front of a log, so what we can do is we can position that up here, so that becomes log to the base 5 of 3 squared. Log to the base 5 of 3 squared is log to the base 5 of 9. Next one, we've got a 3 in front of the log here, so that can go up there and become a power. So we've got log to the base 5 of 2 cubed. 2 cubed is 8. So we're adding, in this situation. Now, what we can do now is that with this we're adding the logs together, so that follows with rule 1. So we end up with log to the base 5 of 9 times 8, which is 72. So, the purpose of today of this video is to introduce you to the log rules, both in terms of the relationship with powers and the sort of the basic ways that you can combine them. For the laws of logarithms, exercise 3D is an excellent place to go now to get yourself a bit more familiar. What I will try and do in the lessons is explain where these come from, and that's obviously what we will do in more detail shortly. But it's really important that you understand the process first before I try and explain where all this comes from, because you're more likely to understand it more clearly then. Thank you.